What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Savage.
Our guest today is Library of Ohara, Artur. Now and then we have Michael Mouton, who's in the chat. He said, "Hey Randy, recently landed my dream job as a set PA on the One Piece live action."
Damn.
Lofty Dreams says he's going to be in a director's chair by Alabasta, and he said, "Love from South Africa." Now, I know that you've been, doing a lot of tweeting about the live action and everything like that. Another positive force in the community, and I didn't want to not talk about it during this stream as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel, man?
I mean, it's like, I understand obviously the hesitation of some people, but like, knowing the people who are involved in this project, I really think it has the potential to be something amazing. And if it turns out to be trash, we'll laugh it off and forget about it in a day. But if this turns out to be good, it has so much potential. And like, everything that I've seen is just like hyping me up so much more every time. And it just feels like everyone involved in this project knows what they're doing and they're passionate about creating something big. Whether it's Matt, whether it's, Steven, or, any of the cast members, they're all so incredibly passionate about this stuff. And I am like legitimately very excited just to see any new bit of information.
Exactly. It's going to be an adaptation, so it's not going to be one-to-one. I tell that to people all the time.
What I'm really loving that I've seen is that they sort of seem to have found this like really cool balance between really keeping the fundamental core ideals and concepts and themes and just of One Piece, but not in the story, but like specifically in like just the sets, the characters, and a lot of the details and stuff like that, while also giving them like a completely brand new look. And we saw this with the design of the Barati, right?
Yep,
it's
exactly.
Like, there's some like details like the Barati kind of having like a lighthouse at the top, which just like encompasses without any words what the Barati is about so well, while still being different and unique on its own, And obviously there's some people are like, oh, but the Barati isn't the same color as the manga, and it's like, who cares? Of course it's gonna be different.
It's like, no, in the manga there isn't a bar inside the mouth.
And I think that, like, to be fair, the PR for the live action has been like really good so far, because they've actually like sort of been trying to appeal to the fans and be very open about it and stuff like that. The live action has done something that Shueisha hasn't been able to in years, and that's actually interact with content creators and the fan base.
The people involved, especially Matt. Matt's a huge fan.
Exactly.
So it's like everything is in good hands. The casting is incredible. The sets are phenomenal.
It's so cool to see the cast of One Piece because, like, man, who's gonna play Whoop Slap? It's not even like the big guys, but sometimes I want to see like the small guys, like who's gonna play this character? Because like even the background characters, like they got an actor to play Ukari, who's like a marine who appears for like 2 panels. Yeah, exactly. The guy who just scratches Morgan's statue. Yeah.
So it's like the little details are there. People are upset because they think it's going to be like every other live action and everything like that, and Cowboy Bebop didn't turn out the way that it should have. But that's not going to be an issue with One Piece, because the problem with Cowboy Bebop was they tried to stretch out something that really should have just been a limited series. With One Piece, they don't need to do that. They don't need to create and fabricate stories for characters
and they have
that
a
were
format,
only in one episode.
Right? Exactly. They literally just have a format, because I understand Cowboy Bebop, like the original is more episodic, it's more like sporadic and everything, and I feel like that's harder to adapt. But One Piece, you just have a story that you can just stick to, obviously while changing some things, but you ultimately have your work cut out for you in a lot of ways, right? And like the way that I see it is that if these guys cannot pull off a One Piece live action, no one can.
One of the big changes that I fully expect is that throughout the season, I believe that we'll see more of Kobe and Helmeppo. I believe we'll see more of Buggy and Elvita. I feel like those cover stories and all that stuff is just ripe material to like cut back and forth to. Because when you're writing a script, when you're creating a television show, you're always looking for something to move away to, generate like a time skip, So like while they're in Syrup Village setting the traps and all that stuff before they're going to actually attack the Black Cat Pirates, perfect time to see Buggy looking for his parts.
But I kind of wonder how much of that we are actually going to see, because I feel like there's also the possibility that some stuff will just be cut out altogether. Like, legitimately, I feel it almost kind of makes sense to cut out Gaimon if it doesn't fit well in an episode. As much as I want to see Gaimon in live action played by Danny DeVito, It's more like pacing-wise, how do you introduce it? Because you can't do like a whole episode on Gaimon, right?
It could be something quick. You could just have Gaimon be a guy on Sierra Village, too. Off on the offskirts of the island, like, who knows? Oh, we don't go to that side of the island.
I don't think it's that essential, all things considered. And I think that people need to compromise a version that will cut out some things. Because personally, for example, I would love it at some point in the future, Toei does like a remastered version of One Piece that not only cuts out like all the anime filler, and it's just a manga, but is even willing to cut out some manga scenes that aren't as essential, and just give a more compressed version of One Piece. But the thing is, I know those source fans were like, oh, but this line was in the manga and it's not here, and I get it, I think it's valid. I wouldn't mind seeing something that is just a bit more compressed and a bit more accessible, especially in a time where like 1,000+ episodes is so difficult.
Well, I don't think that it's impossible to take the entirety of the series, which is, 1,022 episodes now, I think, and get that to 500, 600 where it stands. I think that that's possible even with leaving all of the source material in there and probably even taking the time to incorporate the cover stories. Cut out the filler, cut out the pacing, essentially do what One Piece did. Because One Piece is out there and it's 500, 600 episodes, so it proves that it can be done. What's the thing you're most excited to see in the live action?
Honestly, like, everything long term, especially with like how much effort they're putting into the sets. Like, imagine if this becomes like a big production, and I think it's an uphill battle. I am worried that they might not even get to Alabasta because, this needs to do well, because clearly Netflix is betting a lot on this. But if somehow it manages to go long term, like, imagine the sets they could do with something like Whole Cake Island in real life. Like, that would be like insane. Man, how the hell are they even gonna do Fishman Island?
No, you just do it on a stage. Anything that's underwater, for the most part, would just be CGI.
Yeah, I imagine like the island and all the Sea Kings and stuff.
Yeah, so you have all of that. You still have the ship. You just wrap it around in blue or green screen, or you just do an LED projection like the Mandalorian does.
What do you think would be the hardest sets to do? Because Whole Cake Island, I can imagine more than anything just all the sets, and it's such an unconventional set, but yeah, I guess kind of like Willy Wonka's factory sort of, but just kind of crazier.
Yeah, I mean, from a set design perspective, I think some of the most expensive things would be Whole Cake for sure. Thriller Bark, it would be very specific. There would just be a lot of set building that's going on there. I think it's actually more difficult to do Water 7 than it is Whole Cake Island.
Yeah, because you have to do all the canals and stuff.
Right, and it would almost seem to be more cost effective to go to somewhere like Venice, and just use that, and then for anything that's indoors, go back to South Africa and finish that up. When we get into things like Drum, Alabasta, and even Water 7, are we going to go to somewhere like Greenland or Egypt, or are they going to go to Venice? That's the kind of stuff where it's going to cost way more because they've built their home in South Africa. They have their stages there. Are they going to just make everything on a stage and like create fake snow, or are they going to have a separate unit like Game of Thrones did?
Like, I kind of wonder, how would something like Skypiea even work, right? With like the Cloud Sea and like the houses on top of the clouds. I'm sure there's a lot of CGI involved there, but
yeah, no, that's all green screen, blue screen, or volume work there for sure.
Yeah, but still, for example, it's like the water of the clouds. It's like still and all that stuff. The houses being on top of clouds and the entire ground like being like real clouds. It's like, even with CGI, I wonder, how can you make it feel believable that they are walking on clouds?
Something that they could probably do, I'm just thinking of it now, is build the set with the same sort of material that you would find at like a bouncy castle, and lay that down, right, so that everything like has these ebbs and ridges, and then you just throw fluff and all this stuff on top of it, and then as the actors are walking on it, you would never see them walking straight, because it's just going to have this element of something.
Cool. What I've been thinking is just like, it's insane that like something like the Mislav Duck, which is Alvida's ship, which appears in the manga, may I remind you, for like 3 pages. They built it entirely.
Exactly.
And they'll probably use it a bit more than the manga, but like still, it's probably gonna be just a few minutes. And they built an entire ship just for that, so I feel like it's almost a shame not to preserve these sets and just have it like somewhere in like, you know, Universal Studios Japan or something. Because like I mentioned on Twitter, right, and like Steven also retweeted this. Is like, man, I want to go to this bar. I want to go to the bar at tea and like actually eat there as a One Piece
section
fan.
of the set is just the front.
Don't ruin the magic.
It's just the front, and then the bar is there as well. But the other side is just wood, so it's not all together. It's not like you walk through into the Baratier, and once you walk inside, you just see everything.
The problem is that people see it as something like its existence is a hindrance to One Piece, but it's like, no, it's like, and we've seen this with Dragon Ball Evolution, and actually, like, more specifically, in the 90s, Nintendo was proposed to make a Mario movie, and the reason why they agreed is because they said, Mario is so strong of a brand that even if this movie is terrible, it will not stop this brand. And it was true, the movie was awful, but Mario still remained, and it's a worldwide brand, right? And they're trying again now, like, Dragon Ball hasn't gone bankrupt because the movie sucked. Dragon Ball is still doing amazingly. Exactly, and it will be the same for One Piece, and it's not gonna hurt people, right? We as fans lose nothing, so it's like, you know, that's the thing that I kind of want to ask out of One Piece fans in general, is just give it a shot. Just watch the episodes, or a couple of episodes. If you watch them like, man, this is awful, drop it, leave it, but at least give it a chance.
That's all we have to do. That's all we have to do. But I mean, I do hope that it at least gets to that season 2 mark, because I think if it'll get to season 2, it'll get to season 10.
I mean, like, we've already seen that with some of the casting of the live action, you know, with like some people's like, oh, but like this casting or this casting, but at the end I feel like people just get used to it, you know?
Yeah, and there's just...
But they're not identical to the manga character.
Oh my god. They're not a cartoon.
You mean that Shanks' actor has 2 arms? Why?
Whoa!
Yeah. I remember, like, there was, like, when, you know, they casted Arlong, you know, and it's like, people was like, wait, why is it a black man? And people are like, yeah, man, come on, why couldn't they find a blue man? A purple man, come on. There's also, like, a lot of people that, like, I feel like don't understand that, like, the pictures we've got of the cast so far, they're not in costume. Like, why is Sanji bald? And it's like, well, they're gonna use a wig, right? It's not like that's exactly how it is, right?
And is
obviously,
it the end of the world if that is his hair in the show?
Like, the thing I've argued as well is, like, what if, like, Usopp's nose isn't long? It can work.
Oh, I've said that forever.
Exactly.
I don't
what
want
if someone has a
Usopp's
different hairstyle,
nose to be long.
Yeah.
It makes no difference to me. People legitimately are like, you know, if these characters aren't actually, you know, like 10 feet tall or 20 feet tall, I'm gonna be mad. And it's like, they're building the ships. Do you want them to waste money making characters taller? That's a difficult thing to do, by the way. You have to basically, at that point, you have to shoot everything green screen because you have to manipulate the size of a character, or you have to shoot everything from a really weird perspective and design everything, and the camera can't really move most of the time.
But why did they not cast 10 feet tall people?
I mean, hey, you know what? That's a fair thing to say.
Savage.
Shout out to Very Motivated in the chat, who said, Zeph's actor hasn't cut off his own leg and eaten it? Hard pass.
I can't believe they managed to find Zeph as the actor for Zeph. Literally.
He's good.
It is insane how closely he looks to Zeph.
He's real good.
I mean, it's insane how close, like, all the characters look to each character, you know? It's like... You know, because, like, even actors who, like, look a bit different than the character, they capture that energy. Like, I mentioned that, you know, Kura's actor, for example, like, looks a bit different with his hair or whatever, you know, just slightly, but, like, he has that, like, rich fuckboy energy that Kura has, you know?
Right.
Like, he captures that so well. And I see so many actors, and they're not even in a role, but just seeing them, it's like, man, I can see this character, right?
He was one of my, like, you know, not-so-secret favorites from that video, because I watched him, and I was just like, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. It's here. He's going to bring this, like, really interesting nuance to, you know, both sides of Kuro, and I can't wait. You know, it's and Syrup Village needs that, because that's going to that's the litmus test. You know, it's like it's the hurdle that every new reader or watcher has to get past, and it's where a lot of people drop the series. So I just hope that they take, you know, immense care to not only maybe like truncate Syrup Village, but just really make it just
Because in the
really
manga, it's
interesting.
fairly long for how early it is. Like you said,
Yeah.
we don't need the Nyaban brothers. We don't need a lot of that stuff. It can be streamlined. And I know that on IMDb there was like a description of like, or like a title of each episode. I don't know how reliable that is, so I don't want to necessarily rely on that. But it does seem like they are trying to sort of at least get through the earlier parts fairly fast, if that's any reference. But
I mean, and that's the
like I
best
said,
thing to
yeah.
do. Spend more time in Baradier, spend more time in Arlong
Yeah.
Park.
Park, exactly. Yeah, like I said, it's not just like Kurup, it's like all the actors just encompass everything so well. It's like, I see Jeff Ward, you know, I haven't seen any of his works, but it's like, I see his eyes, I see that buggy energy.
Oh, he's got the buggy
Just in his
energy, don't
stare,
worry.
yeah.
He's got it. He's
Yeah.
got it. It's gonna be great.
I am so excited. It's exciting because only the manga every week can get a bit tiresome after a while. You know, maybe it's also because I'm a content creator, but I like this variety. I like new ways to experience One Piece, and the live action is just like the culmination of all of that, right? I think they should like continue a little bit of this cycle of showing like some actors here and some stuff there, because it's working really well, I feel, within the community. I feel like people are starting to feel a lot more reassured than they used to. You know, there was some excitement at first, but I feel like the more actors we see, the more sets we see, and like the more stuff we see, like people are like turning from like, oh yeah, this is gonna be disastrous, this is live action, to like, hey, this could be good. And I think that they need to continue embracing that little by little.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.